All right, so this is going to be a review of Madam Web, the latest Spider-Man adjacent, I guess, movie that Sony's throwing out there. It's directed by S.J. Clarkson. I don't know how these movies are getting worse. Like Venom, I was like, okay, this is bad. And Venom 2, like, okay, this is worse. And there's like no story going on. This is such a forced sequel. And then you get to Morbius, and it's like, okay, it's already bad, but it's so clear that you cut this up to where it's like, okay, now it's even worse because you're missing context. Major characters are dying that barely got any development, so you don't care. There's so many problems with that one. It's like they've gotten worse every time to where I feel like I need to apologize to the last one with every new one that comes out. And this is no different. This is even worse than Morbius. This is a terrible movie. All right, so the story starts off with the main character, Cassie, played by Dakota Johnson. Her mother in Peru, in the Amazon of Peru. She's looking for some spiders. There's there's like some myths about spider people that live there that have certain abilities and things like that. She wants to use those spiders to potentially like heal diseases and stuff like that. But she's there with the person that turns out to be the villain in this, Ezekiel Sims, played by Tahar Rahim. And he is so clearly evil, but he turns on her, ends up killing the people and taking the spider from her. But she ends up dying in childbirth, but she ends up giving birth to Cassie. Then we go to what is present day in the movie. I believe that was I believe it was 2003, and the stuff before was I think like 70 something. But Cassie, she's she's a paramedic. She's like driving an ambulance and things like that. And she keeps like kind of bumping into these three girls in this, and it's kind of weird. And then something happens to her, and she starts being able to see the future. Like she can see a conversation, or a conversation will play out, and then it'll like pretty much happen again. And so it'll be like, whoa, what didn't we just have this conversation? Stuff like that. She's starting to see the future. So she's on a train with these three girls, and she sees the future of Ezekiel, the villain in this, killing them. Basically, Ezekiel doesn't really have much of a plan other than he's getting dreams for some reason about these three girls having spider powers, pretty much the abilities that he has that he got from that spider, killing him. So he's going around so that he can kill them. There's really not much going on here. So it's really just Cassie or Madam Web in this, protecting these girls from Ezekiel. So yeah, this is awful. There's not much positive to say about this. I guess it's shot okay. There's some decent cinematography. There is an attempt, like during the parts where Ezekiel's going after these girls, there is an attempt to kind of make it kind of cool. There's some camera work and things like that, and the editing. It's messy, like a lot of this stuff, but that's the closest you get to anything cool happening is when Ezekiel is just like going through people. He's an evil Spider-Man, pretty much. He's dressed up like Spider-Man even for really no reason other than, I guess, to get people in the theater. Like, oh yeah, this is a Spider-Man movie. Look, isn't that Spider-Man or something? So whatever. They do attempt to make that kind of cool, so I guess maybe that's all right. And then Dakota Johnson. I think she does a pretty good job. Like I think of all the people in here, because the performances aren't good, probably because the writing and the direction is ass. But I think she rises above it the most of everybody in this, I think. So let's get into it. Sony, let's start off with this. What the hell are you guys doing? I don't understand. It's like they're trolling at this point. You were throwing out these terrible movies about these villains because I guess you just have to put out a spider-based property even when Spider-Man, isn't in it, because you have this whole thing going on with the MCU and essentially sharing Spider-Man. So it's like, well, we still gotta make our own Spider-Man stuff, so we gotta throw these out there. But like, you started off with those villains, those bad villain movies, Venom and Morbius, and now it's like we're not just doing movie. They got that Craven movie coming out. We're not just doing like forced movies about the villains. Now we're like doing it about like side characters, like Madam Web. I remember her from the '90s show, and I remember she was like an old lady in a wheelchair. Well, I guess she was a wheelchair. She might have been like sitting on a throne or something, and she would like bring the Spider-Man together from different universes to do something or something like that. Like she has kind of like magical powers and can see things. That's about it. I don't understand why you would make an entire movie about it. I really don't get it.
You are about to embark on a period of training for a mission I will soon require of you.
The only thing I'm embarking on is a trip out of here.
Parker, this is one situation you cannot crawl away from.
More so than the other movies that they've done, these other, Venom, Morbius, more so than those, this feels like a movie from like the early 2000s, like a lame, like lazy superhero movie that they just threw out. It more than the other ones, it feels like that. The CGI is fucking awful. She falls into the water and she has like these webs that come out of her and things like that. She's like turning around in the water. It's so clear that she's fake, and it looks like effects from back then. The whole thing about the spider people and stuff like there was parts of this that were reminding me of Catwoman. But then at one point, a song from Catwoman starts playing, and I was like, you guys have to be trolling at this point. Like, you've heard the criticism, so now you're just having fun with it. I don't know what's going on. Like I said, I mean, there really isn't much to this movie. It really is. It was reminding me of Terminator. I heard some other people say that because you have somebody protecting someone from this seemingly unstoppable force that's going after them and things like that. It's really just running away from that, that overwhelming force that's coming that's trying to kill them. But there's so little here. There's so little to the characters. You don't really get to know any of them. Cassie probably the most. But you have these girls in here. Sydney Sweeney is one of them. That they are completely, pretty much flat. Like, they kind of have a personality, and they're kind of going with like, okay, these girls are so different that there's going to be maybe a little bit of tension at first, but then they kind of form a camaraderie based on what they're going through. That was like one scene. The dialogue is horrible. The way they do this specifically the exposition, right? Characters will be talking about something, and then out of seemingly nowhere, they'll just go into their backstory, right? Like Cassie will be talking to the other paramedic, and out of nowhere, she's like, well, I was a foster kid, da-da-da-da-da. It's like, it's the most unnatural conversations ever. They wrote these conversations like dog shit, and there's no chemistry really between the girls or with Dakota Johnson and the other actresses in here. There's really nothing to this movie. It's so empty. The future powers seems like they could be kind of cool, but they do that in like the worst way they possibly can. It's so messy. It's up in the air whether she can actually change something that she's seen, or whether it's just going to play out. She just knows it's going to happen. At times she can change it. At times it's seemingly going to happen no matter what. So that felt inconsistent. But the thing that's bad about it is it goes on for so long. Like, she'll be sitting on the train and she'll see multiple different versions of different things going on just to cut back to her just sitting on the train. It's like, how long are these visions taking that we keep ending up at like square one with that scene? It was so annoying. And then also was taking tension out of it too. It would take tension away from things because Cassie, or Dakota Johnson, she'll go to the girls and try to help them or whatever. The Ezekiel, pretty much the evil Spider-Man in this, will walk up to him and just start beating that ass and will go and kill Cassie. And then all of a sudden, we're back at before she even walked up to the girls. So it takes away stakes as an audience member, because every time she gets into a situation where she might die, I'm thinking, well, if she does, it's going to turn out to be a vision. Every time. There's parts of this that just don't make any sense. The villain Ezekiel just has this really advanced this what's called this surveillance system where he can see all the the different streets and things like that looking for these girls. They conveniently are all in the same city and stuff like that he needs to find, whatever. But he can find them whenever he needs to find them, and he has pretty much his version of the guy in the chair. The hero has their guy in the chair. It's like Miles and Genki and the stuff like that. You see that in a lot of things, a lot of superhero stuff. What's his name? Ned kind of was that for Spider-Man and not No Way Home, and Homecoming. So he has what basically is that, a person in the chair telling him where to go and what to do. He has some kind of hold over her. I forgot what it was. But whenever the script wants him to be able to find them, hey, we have that convenient, surveillance thing that he just knows where they are, and he picks up with their face in the car that they're trying to get away in and stuff like that. But whenever the script doesn't want him to find them, conveniently, he just can't see them. He just doesn't know where they are. She's wanted by the police because they think that she kidnapped these girls because somehow, in a way that I don't think they ever explained, when Ezekiel goes after them in the Spider-Man costume or whatever, nobody can see him, I guess. So the girls are the only ones that can witness what he did and say that she didn't kidnap them. But then also she can just walk around freely. And at one point she's just able to, I don't remember how she did it exactly, but at one point she was able to just get on a plane and go to Peru, even though she's wanted. It's like, all right, so probably the worst part of this, at least for me, was the villain, Ezekiel. Tahar Rahim plays him. It starts off with him killing the mom, and he wants the spiders and stuff like that. There might be some spoilers in this too, by the way. I might end up spoiling this ending. But he kills the mom, and he's trying to get the spiders and stuff like that. I'm thinking, okay, so he probably has some kind of larger plan. I don't think they ever said what it was. I don't think they did. It's just him having this vision about these girls and going after them. I don't think he has the same powers as Madam Web and Cassie, that you can see the future, but yet he still had that dream about these girls because we need the plot to happen. He needs to go after them. The actor isn't very good. He's given a pretty subdued, kind of bland performance. And what was weird and kept taking me out was he would speak, but I couldn't really see his mouth moving enough for that voice to have been coming out of him. So I was thinking to myself, it's one of two things. Either almost all of his dialogue, just about, was ADR, was dubbed over, or he's giving such a bland, such a lazy performance that he's moving his mouth just enough to get the lines out, to where I'm missing that his mouth is moving enough for the line. So he's bad all around. He's really there just to have something to go after them. And then we get to the ending. So the ending, after they've been running and things like that, we found out about spider people, whatever. Madam Web or Cassie goes to confront him and still protect the girls. Like I said, the see in the future stuff gets real old, and it's real just kind of messy and all over the place. But it all pretty much comes down to the villain essentially killing himself, or causing himself to lose, because they can't fight him. The girls in this, if you were tricked by the trailer, the girls never get their powers other than the vision that he had. So they're still just running away from him, right? They don't get the powers to defeat him in the end with her help. No, it's her against him, protecting the girls. And really all she's doing is just predicting where he's going to stand and what's going to happen before he finally just falls down someplace and has some things collapse on him. That's it, though. Bad acting, bad dialogue, bad writing, nonsensical writing. The villain is horrible and is really just there to go after them. Certain details that are explained that don't make any sense, certain details that are just kind of left out or not explained at all. Yeah, this is not a good movie at all. This is somehow worse than Morbius, and I thought it impossible. I mean, from the trailer, I was like, this looks horrible, but it's like, man, but Morbius was really bad. Think back to Morbius. This is worse. If you haven't seen this, this is the worst one they've done. They just keep getting worse and worse. It's lame-ass Terminator with, Spider-Man stuff in it. Well, hell yeah, that's it. That's Madam Web. I'm giving it complete shit. 2 of my lowest ratings this early on in the year. It's not looking too good for 2024. But yeah, that's it. That's Madam Web. It's horrible, right? Just like everybody thought it was going to be, just like everybody's saying now that they've seen it. Anyway, yeah, that's it. We're done.